evening and welcome to tonight's driver's ed class. Tonight we will be talking about expressway driving on the highway. What do we need to know in order to merge correctly and safely onto the road? We'll be talking about some of the special features. It will be a dynamite class. Okay, this is something that everybody fears, but we're going to demystify driving on the highway tonight. So sign in and get ready. So get out your notebooks, get out your pen, pencil, and we'll try to get through this topic, give you some good information to make you a better, safer driver on the highway. Tomorrow's class, sharing the road with other roadway users. So we'll be talking about being on the highway with large trucks. Probably won't get into it that much tonight. It will be about us and our responsibility about getting on the road. I do have a worksheet on our Facebook page for you to do and complete after tonight's class. Some of you did the homework, the crash report, so please try to get that to me at some point. And that is your homework. I'm going to actually, thank you. We're going to schedule driving accordingly to people doing their homework. So that's how I'm going to start scheduling people, moving people along. So if you're putting in the effort and the time to learn, to get information, and to complete this program, I will do my best to get your driving in. So do your homework, you get to drive. All right, let's get out of what we're listening to here, my intro. Please remind me if you ever do hear an echo, then I want to kind of switch over to a different mic. So I've got two mics. One that's right here in front of me that I like and that I use a lot. And then sometimes I use the one that's on the computer when this one's acting up on me. So, and then there are times when they both get connected and create a problem. So let's kind of talk about last night just briefly. Your homework was the crash report. It's important for you to understand that you've got to do some of these things on a timely manner, meaning not so much the homework, but I'm talking about filing reports to the state. Yeah, you have to do it within 15 days. If not, then they're going to come after you. Because if the other driver files the report and they've got your information, then the state's going to say, why didn't you file yours? And it's just going to be a big mess. Your insurance company, any information that you leave blank, it's going to withhold you getting your car completed in a timely manner. So it's just going to really hang things up. So it's really important to be a person of detail. Try to be as thorough as possible, and you'll find that there won't be as many bumps in the road when you file any of these reports. So last night was insurance, so hopefully you wrote down, and like I said, from the midterm to the final, and can you believe a week from tomorrow, we are done. This is our last full week of class. Next week is going to be a breeze. Okay, we're going to just kind of float right into the last week and the final. So tonight's class, tomorrow's class, and then Monday's class will be content. Then on, I believe it's Tuesday or Wednesday, we have one day we don't have class next week. And then we've got Thursday as being our final. So we are making a mad push to the final. So here we are, finishing up the last few topics to get you ready for your state exam. So let me get right into our topic for tonight, expressway driving. So please write down, what are the differences and what makes expressway driving so difficult? Now, in a normal driver's ed class, usually around the fourth week, we are in our 6th, 7th hour of driving. So you've probably just done parallel parking. Now we're getting ready to do a highway lesson or backing into parking spots. So we're getting into the very last part of the driving skills that you have to do. I normally, oh, there is an echo. Thanks. Thanks. I just saw that. Awesome. Thanks, Nico. Um, it's really important for you to understand if you go to Dover Point for your license, so write this down, you will be tested for merging or lane changes. Since they only have you for a short period of time, it's really important that you understand how to get onto the highway safely. Now, I just want to show you, this was a clip. I showed you Andy Pilgrim the first week of class. He had this short segment in his video that I clipped out, and it talked about if you're not good at something, practice it, get better at it. I hope you realize that when you drive with me, I'm not going to pick on anybody by name, but I had a highway lesson. Well, it wasn't anybody in this class. Earlier today, we were merging on and off the highway constantly. We get on, we get off. We get on, we get off. We get on, we get off. The more that you do it, the more you're going to get a feel for it, a rhythm to it. And the more you do it right after one another, it builds that muscle memory. If you go too long, like you merge on the highway once and you don't do it again for another 2 weeks, you tend to forget what it was like. You tend to forget what's the sequence that you have to do. Let me show you how Andy Pilgrim was talking about a person who had been a licensed driver, maybe driving for 20 years, but they still don't know how to merge correctly. Watch this.
Sadly, most people treat it as a right and not a privilege. And of course, this attitude can easily transfer to new drivers. Driving should be something we work on every day to improve our skills. I know adults who have been driving for 25 years and still don't know how to do something as simple as merging without negatively impacting traffic flow. There is no excuse for this. If you feel you are not a competent driver, then work at it. Go out and practice to get better. Remember, driving is different. It takes attention.
He never had a pocket. He never found his pocket to merge into. That's where the problem was. He got at the very end of the ramp and he didn't know where to go and what to do. And we don't want that to happen. So there are 5 terms that I want you to be familiar with when it comes to superhighways: interstate, toll roads, thoroughways, turnpikes, and freeways. Okay, let's get this right out of the way. They basically all mean the same. All right? You are on a major roadway that's getting to where you want to go quickly and hopefully safely. But this is what you need to understand. You need to know what makes them different. Some of them are a lot faster than others. Some of them are going to have more than 1 or 2 lanes. And some of them you're going to have to pay. I mean, think about it. Freeway, toll road. I think we know just by the name which ones are going to charge money. Now, we're going to get into this a little bit further tonight, but in the United States, we've gone to an easy pass system. It's almost like putting it is. It's a scanner on your windshield, and it's like your car is at a grocery store and you're being scanned as you go through. It's taking a picture of your vehicle and it's taking money out of, like a debit card, out of your account. If you don't have an account, then it sends you the bill to your registration address. But you need to understand that driving on highways is not free all the time. Same thing with bridges or tunnels. They're going to cost a substantial amount of money. So you should have an idea of, before you get on a particular road, what is it going to cost me to get to where I want to go? And we'll talk more about that a little bit later tonight. So the 2 main reasons for using highways: to get you to where you want to go sooner. Okay, so you really, if you stay on 95, and by the way, 95 goes from Maine to Florida. So if you ever want to run away from home, and you want to go someplace nice and warm like Florida, just stay on 95 and it'll take you right there. Don't have to make any real like left or right hand turns. You're just staying on 95. you have a better chance of getting to where you're going safely. Now, even though the speed is higher, you're all going in the same direction. Very seldom on those 5 terms that I just gave you for superhighways do you have oncoming traffic coming at you. Now, I'll give you an example where it does. The Spalding Turnpike has oncoming traffic. It will be coming towards you. All right? That is going to be a little bit more dangerous, where someone could cross over. Who could cross over a center line? Just what we talked about last week, a drunk driver. Maybe someone that's fatigued. Maybe someone that's not paying attention. So when you've got traffic going all in the same direction, you are certainly going to be much safer. Now, here's the problem. This is why I do not take my drivers until you're used to the vehicle, until you've shown me that you have some basic driving skills. I do not take you on a highway. The problem is that you have to think quicker and react faster at the speeds that you're traveling. If you're a person who has a difficult time judging gaps, pulling out into traffic, when to go through a yellow light, those issues are going to follow you onto the highway. There is no room for error. You're going to have cars that are going to be following you closer than they should. They're not going to have the recommended following distance that they should be behind you. And you're going to have to make good decisions on what you're trying to do and to get to where you want to go. Now, there are special features to a highway that I want you to be familiar with. I will test you on some of these. So even though this is a short subject, there is some content that will come up on the final. Okay? Controlled access, limited access means the same thing. It means an on-ramp or off-ramp. You can only get on, get off on certain places on a highway. This is where you need to practice. This is where you get the word merging. Interchanges. The intersection of two highways at different levels. One is up high, one is going down below. Now, the next term, mile markers, is not even in the manual, not even in the textbook. But I want you to be familiar with mile markers. The reason being is that I know we have GPS, so if someone had to track where you are, they could probably get the coordinates through your phone. But another way to communicate to, like a tow truck company, where are you broken down on the Spalding Turnpike? I'm at mile marker 13.2. They'll be able to look at a map and they'll be able to know exactly where you're located. That's the reason. And mile markers will also help you figure out how long it's going to take you to get somewhere. Now, with mile markers, north numbers go higher, south numbers go lower. So let's just use the Spalding Turnpike, Route 16. It's pretty close by to Durham. So when you go from the Portsmouth traffic circle heading north, you're going to see the numbers go up in 0.2 of a mile. So as you're heading north on the Spalding and you're at mile marker 14, and you're going up to the very end of the Spalding Turnpike, which will probably be up around 30, 32 mile marker. If you're going 60 miles per hour and you're at mile marker 14, it's going to take you another 15 to 20 minutes if you're going 60 miles per hour to get to where you're going at the end of the Spalding Turnpike. So there is a way to calculate your arrival. Now with GPS, all that stuff, Google Maps, all that stuff is done for us, so we don't have to worry as much. Now, one of the things that we will probably not accomplish in driver's ed is I will not take you out to pass. I'm going to pick on Riley because I've driven with both Rileys. We have two Rileys in class. I'm not going to say to Riley, today we're going to go out and drive until we pass somebody. It's just not going to happen that way. But if we happen to be on a roadway where we have a passing zone, most certainly I'm going to explain how to pass somebody. So the first thing I want you to write down about passing, one, you need to know that the road allows it so it's legal. So make sure that you've got the dotted lines and you've got the distance. It's legal and it's safe. Then you've got to think about how many cars am I passing? Am I passing 1? Am I passing 2? Am I going to be able to get back to where I need to before the no passing zone sign or the solid line? There are a lot of things that are going into your thought process, and the car that you're passing should be going below the speed limit. Okay, the state does not allow you to pass people that are going the speed limit. They're doing what they're supposed to. But how often do we go up on a roadway and we find people, we're above the speed limit. Let's say you're on the Spalding and you're going 57, 58, and a 55. You're still going to get passed, probably on a regular basis. Most people do not follow the rules of the law when it comes to speed. They're in a hurry. They don't like to go slow. Okay? So make sure that you understand the concept of passing. So let's take a look at this.
Another common maneuver is passing in the lane of oncoming traffic. It's common, but it's not always safe and must be done cautiously.
It becomes a danger because of the judgment factors that we don't judge distance very well.
The problem is twofold. It's hard to tell how long it's going to take to accelerate to get past the car we're trying to pass. And it's hard to tell how close the car is in the oncoming lane and how fast that car is traveling towards you.
It's risky business because drivers have a hard time judging that dynamic movement.
If you do plan to pass, keep this in mind. An oncoming car or truck does not seem to be traveling as fast as it really is. Here's a good rule of thumb. If an oncoming car is far enough away that it does not seem to be moving at all, then it is generally far enough away for you to safely make your pass. But if you can see that oncoming car is moving, then it's a different story.
If you go out there to look and you see that car looks like it's moving towards you, you better tuck back in again because you're probably too close.
There are other times when it is not safe to pass. If your view is blocked by either a hill or a curve, don't pass. Assume there is an oncoming car or truck just out of sight. Passing requires extreme caution because of the threat of having a head-on collision.
When you talk about having a head-on collision, you're talking about doubling and tripling the forces, and maybe the forces even quadruple, depends on your speed and the nature of the car coming towards you.
Also, avoid passing at intersections. This includes intersecting roads, railroad crossings, even entrances to shopping centers. If you are on a two-lane road, pass only on the left. It is dangerous and usually illegal to pass on the right. The exception is when a car ahead of you signals to make a left turn. If the car in front of you is stopped to make a left-hand turn, never pass to his left. Instead, you may pass to his right on the shoulder. In any event, experts urge drivers to not take passing lightly. It's a common driving task that requires utmost caution. This is Jimmy.
Okay, usually your first passing maneuver would probably be with a parent. Parents have a tendency to want you to go fast, so you probably will experience this with a parent. But there's going to be some of you that probably won't experience it until you're all by yourself. So the thing to remember is that if you really don't feel comfortable with it, just wait. Don't push yourself in a situation where you feel uncomfortable doing the pass. So what are some other special features on a highway? Reflectors. Let's talk about driving at night, driving in fog on the highway. There will be times that you will lose sight of the road. I know that sounds scary, but there will be times that for a few seconds, you're going to lose your bearings. Now, most towns and states will repaint roads in May and June because they get worn out over the winter time with all the plowing and the salt and the sand and the wear and the tear. So we have to constantly reline our roadways. So if you can't see the lines, this is what I want you to write down. Look for your reflectors. So your reflectors will always match the color of the line on your side of the road. So if you're in the far left lane, like the passing lane, the line next to you will be yellow. If you're in the far right lane, it matches the color of the fog line, the edge line, the white line. So we've got white to the right, yellow to the left. So when you see those reflectors, you're going from pavement to soft shoulder or grass. So the reflectors are where the roadway, the pavement ends. You will see two other colors while you're driving on a highway, but it's only used when there's an immovable object around, like the beginning of a guardrail or at the end of a guardrail, at the beginning of an underpass or just beyond the underpass. Someplace where the state does not want you to lose contact with pavement and go over to the grass or the soft shoulder because you're going to hit something and do damage to your vehicle. So the reflectors that you're looking for is red at the beginning of a guardrail and green at the end. This also will help people that plow the road. They will see these reflectors when, think about it, when a person plows the road, they don't have lines. They're plowing a road where there's a depth of snow. So they're doing it off the basis of the reflectors. Rumble strips alert drivers to the positioning on the roadway. Now, two people that we got to watch out for, and we haven't really covered the topic of fatigued drivers, but a person that's falling asleep, once they hit the rumble strips, their first reaction is to jerk the wheel. A person that's talking on a cell phone who's distracted will slightly turn the wheel and get back on. He'll go, whoop, 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 losing my way. Here I go, back onto the road. So be very careful when you see a person hit the rumble strip and they jerk the wheel. That's the person that's falling asleep. That's the person that could be a drunk or drug driver. And then Easy Pass we've kind of already spoken about, but it allows you to go through toll booths without handing over any money. They're going to charge you at a later date. So there's the mile markers, okay? See, there's your mile markers, there's your rumble strips, and there's your Easy Pass. Full service means you can actually pay, but also notice there's a red X. So you're not going to be able to go through those lanes. So always look for a green arrow, like when we talked about with reversible lanes. Arrows will always tell you which lane that you should be in. Stay away from lanes that have flashing yellow lights. You can only use it temporarily. Go for where the green arrow is. If you don't have Easy Pass, like I said, they will bill you. This goes to show you that they're trying to upgrade some of these sensors so you're able to go at a higher rate of speed. So there is an upgrade that took place back in 2014, about 6 years ago. And you're able to go at a pretty high rate of speed. I think in Hampton now that you could go right through regular speed, so 65, which is pretty cool. That way we don't hold up traffic. The other thing, too, is that in some states they actually use this to gauge what your speed is. So be very careful. And as I said before, you never know how much it's going to cost. So just make sure you have enough in your account. So your Easy Pass is like a debit. But if you look at the very last paragraph, the toll hikes are more than chump change. Cash tolls on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge jumped from $4, jumped to $4 from $2.50. And here's the kicker: going over the New York, New Jersey Hudson River crossing, it went from $8 to $12. And someone told me that going over the George Washington Bridge on 95 in New York City is like $18 or $20 one way. Can you imagine working in the city where you have to go in and out on a daily basis? You're going to be spending close to $100 just to get to work every week. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's why trains and subways are so important for people that have to do this kind of traveling. And when they don't, then you got to find a place to park. That's the other thing you got to remember. So always look for what it's going to cost. So there will always be signs up indicating what the cost of going through these tolls will be. So on the ramp, so let's talk about the most difficult thing about highway driving. First of all, you need to know where to get on. You need to know what exit. Don't have people send you someplace that's going to take you someplace you don't want to go. So remember, roads go opposites. So if you've got one road going north, the other side goes south. If you've got one road going east, the other side goes west. So just because you see the road that you want to go on, make sure that you don't take a ramp that's taking you in the opposite direction that you want to go. You need to know, am I going in the direction that I need to go? Now, here's what I want you to write down and remember. Keep up your speed while you're looking for a hole in traffic. Do not stop at the end of a ramp unless it's necessary. Here's my recommendation, and this is what I've been teaching. Once you get up onto the ramp, you should be going 35, 40 miles per hour till you get to the yield sign. There will always be a yield because the yield sign on a ramp is telling you to don't make people slow down abruptly to let you in. You should be matching what they're doing. You should be blending in with what they're doing. So keep up your speed to a reasonable amount while you're looking for a hole to merge into. So allow traffic to make room for you. They don't like slowing down. They don't want to let you in if you're going too slow. So when you get to the yield sign, find your hole, check your rear view mirror, check your side view mirror, check over your shoulder, and then use your directional as you merge out. Now, when I say be careful of blended lanes, what blended lanes are, and I'll get out of here for a second. Blended lanes are when you have an interchange, an underpass, where you're going underneath and getting an exit to get off the highway, and there's going to be a roadway where people are trying to get on. So there's going to be a section of the road where some people are slowing down to get off, and some people are speeding up to get on. So write that down. Blended lanes are a combination of cars merging, sliding in and out. All right, and I'll show you a video of that in just a moment. So here's the technique that I want you to write down. Speed up to 35, 40 miles per hour. Check your rear view mirror, then side view mirror. Check over your shoulder to the left, that's your blind spot, and then signal as you get ready to turn the wheel. So speed up, check mirrors, check my blind spot, signal, and then merge over. So let's take a look at merging.
It can be a high anxiety situation. You're trying to enter the freeway. Cars on the freeway are whizzing by. You're trying to keep an eye on the cars in front of you. Drivers in the cars behind you are eager for their chance to merge. It can be chaotic, and you're the one at the gate.
Actually, a merge is probably one of your highest risk maneuvers that you do as a driver.
Dr. Terry Klein with Eastern Kentucky University is a leading authority on driving safety and an expert on traffic rules.
It's really a rather tricky maneuver because what we're asking you to do as a driver is pay attention to both the things happening in front of you, the things happening behind you, and the things happening 2 lanes to your left or 2 lanes to your right.
Dr. Klein says this complicates things because as human beings, we can really pay strict attention to only one thing at a time. So as tense as it may be, you've got to learn how to merge if you want to enter a freeway.
The bottom line is that you have to prepare for a merge sooner.
Dr. Klein says to prepare for a merge well before you're actually ready to merge. Identify a gap between cars on the freeway where you can merge. Then, continue increasing your speed until you reach the gap you selected. Dr. Klein says instead of increasing speed, drivers have a tendency to actually slow down before merging. A big mistake.
You have cars behind you coming up, they're trying to enter at speed themselves, so you could cause a chain reaction type collision behind you as well.
Dr. Klein says drivers tend to minimize the dangers in merging, and that there are actually more crashes that happen during merging than during passing.
Once on the freeway, adjust your speed to keep a cushion of space around your car.
The closer you get to a car around you, the more they drive you and the less you driving yourself. You become their puppet. They brake, you brake. They speed up, you speed up. They stop suddenly, you stop suddenly.
Finally, once you've merged and adjusted your speed, you probably will change lanes at some point. Some quick pointers. Look around you for a large enough space to move into. Use your mirrors. Turn your head to look quickly to the side before changing lanes. Then make your lane change. Changing lanes, keeping space around your car, and merging. Each is a critical task in our driving experience.
So there's a quick overview of merging onto a highway. Let's talk about the easiest part of being on a highway. That's getting off. So make sure you understand that some ramps will have multiple exits. What do I mean by that? You'll have like exit 14A, 14B, 14C. Okay, someone just told you to take exit 14. Well, which one is it, A, B, or C? So you need to know which one that you actually want. And the nice thing about GPS, well, is that they tell you where to get off. The problem is with GPS, there's sometimes a lag time, and the exits are so close to one another, you're still confused. This I do want you to know for the final. You need to communicate you're getting off a highway. So you've got to use your directionals 500 feet. A lot of people say, I have no clue what 500 feet looks like. It's probably the last sign before your exit. All right? So find the last sign before your exit and then put your directional on there. Keep up your speed till you get to the mouth of the ramp. Okay, this is going to be part of the worksheet that you're going to have to do. I've already loaded it on Facebook page. And by the way, the problem with that second crash report, I finally did get it loaded. It's back on our Facebook, remote Facebook page. So if you haven't done the homework, looking for that second page, it is now loaded. I did that right before class. And at the bottom of the ramp, you usually have choices. If you go to the right at the bottom of the ramp, it will probably be a yield sign. If you go left, write this down. If you go left at the bottom of the ramp, it will always, always, always be a stop. Because you need time to look to the left, look to the right. You just can't blindly pull out into traffic. You have to wait till you have an opening. Whereas a yield at the bottom going right allows you to blend in with the flow of traffic. But make sure you've made good checks and you know where your opening is. Do not force yourself into that opening. So here are some tips for survival. Be alert. Keep plenty of room when passing. Don't do it when you're too close. Make sure that you have good following distance, at least the 4 seconds, 5 or 6 or more, depending what you're following, like a large truck. When you make your lane changes, always use your turn signals. Try to drive at a steady speed. Know what lane is best for you. So let's talk about the lanes. Never drive in the left lane unless you're passing somebody. Okay? Make sure that you understand that in some states it's illegal. Okay, it's illegal to be in the left lane if you're not passing. Middle lane is the smoothest, it's the best. And the right lane is for going slower. All right? Don't stop unless it's necessary. Okay, make sure that you find a place where you can change a tire or work on your vehicle if it's broken down. You just don't want to put yourself in harm's way. And if you do feel tired or fatigued, get some rest. Trying to fight it on the highway. I will tell you, I have had problems when I've driven long distances where it's very easy to get lulled to sleep. Because you're not doing anything. You're keeping between the left line and the right line. And you're just driving straight. And if you're listening to music and music can relax you, it's very easy to nod off. And we'll talk more about that next week when we talk about fatigue, because we really didn't get into it. But what I find is that a lot of people feel because they're driving long distances on highways that it allows them to do other things, like check their phone for emails, text messages. Even some people will watch videos and things like that while they're driving or read a book. Don't try to multitask. Driving needs your full attention. Let me just show you Andy Pilgrim again on multitasking.
I'm sure they'll be fine driving. The statistics actually show that students who do better in school are more likely to believe they can multitask. And sadly, this belief
So when
is
you get
often
good at
applied to
driving
their
on the
driving.
highway, you're more apt to
Research
be
shows us that
tempted
humans can do
to-
one thing about
to
100% well,
multitask.
and two tasks at 30 to 40%
See how you
efficiency.
drop down?
Parents,
when you add that
please
second
don't teach your
task?
children that attempting to multitask while driving is okay. It's plainly not.
So you don't want to bring your efficiency of driving down. You want to basically keep it where it's one task, and that's the driving. Don't introduce music, checking emails, Facebook, things like that. Beware of what you're behind when you're on a highway. So if you're getting behind a truck that's carrying garbage, lumber, here's a case with a mattress, what's your first reaction when you see something come at you? It's probably to hit the brakes or swerve. You got to remember, unless you've checked your mirrors, there's going to be someone right beside you. So be very careful with that. And a lot of times when they say it caused a fatal crash, so a person died in that rollover, by the way. Following distance. Let's take a look at following distance.
Timing is everything. And when you're on the highway, every second counts. We usually think of stopping in terms of space, but what really matters is time. It takes about 1.5 seconds to notice a potential risk in front of you, and another 1.5 seconds to react, hit the brakes, and slow down. So you want to give yourself at least 3 seconds between the car in front of you and your vehicle. To measure, wait for the car ahead of you to pass a set object. Tree, road sign, light pole, any clear marker will do. After it passes, start counting. 1001, 1002, 1003. If you reach that same object before you reach 3, you're too close. Of course, this 3-second baseline is right for a car in normal driving conditions. Driving in bad weather? Add 1 more second. Driving an SUV? Add another second. If you're driving a commercial vehicle, it's gotta be at least 6 seconds. So don't forget the 3-second rule. And don't forget to share the safety with your friends and family.
Okay, it's actually the 4-second rule now. It's not 3. We've added an extra second because people aren't following directions very well, so we're trying to make it seem like you need more. Actually, I believe 3 is probably adequate, but 4, of course, will be a little bit better. The other thing is the no zone. We'll be talking more about this tomorrow, but please write this down right now, so the more you hear about it, the more that you'll understand. No zone is a blind spot. We understand that. It is a blind spot. So what no zone actually means is lingering in that blind spot area for any lengthy period of time, like more than, 30 seconds to a minute. You shouldn't do that. That's why I say no zone. Don't be in that zone for anything but then a brief moment.
There are hundreds of thousands of truck accidents every year. Driving a vehicle this size, that's a tough job. Imagine trying to stop 80,000 pounds going 55 miles an hour.
That tempting space trucks leave in front of them, well, it's there because they need it. When you cut in front of a truck, you're taking that buffer room away, which leaves them no space to stop, which is
So
a
they'll
really
probably hit you
bad
from
idea.
behind if you had to
Driving
stop
too
real
closely
quick.
behind a truck isn't safe either. A tractor trailer blocks a huge part of your view, making it hard to see what's up ahead. If they have to stop, your only warning is their brake lights, and sometimes that's just not enough. So always allow room for the truck zone, and give yourself a few extra seconds of space in front of or behind them. Remember the truck zone when you're on the road, and don't forget to share the safety with your friends and family.
I don't have this video, but the special features is the lane departure or the blind spot monitor, which allows your car to indicate when someone is getting in your no zone area. I just didn't find that tonight to download it. So let's talk about the difference between a traffic circle and a roundabout, okay? Roundabouts really slows down traffic, and we're finding that more countries, and even here in the United States, we're using this a little bit more frequently. Here's a picture in London. Notice they're going in the opposite direction, but also notice there are multiple lanes. Here they have 3 lanes in their circle, or roundabout, I should say. In Portsmouth, it's really 1 large lane, but Lee has 2, even though it's relatively smaller than what you've got at Portsmouth. So it has a lot to do with the speed that you go in. So a circle will be probably a slower speed, a roundabout a little bit bigger, and allows the movement of traffic to be a little bit faster, I believe. So here's the Lee Circle, and it's explaining about which lane to be in. So let me tell you, we will probably go through the Lee Circle at some point during our drive. So what I want you to write down, at the Lee Circle, if you're getting off at the first or second exit, be in the right lane. If you're getting off at the second, third, or you're doing a 360 going completely around the circle to backtrack where you just came from, you have to be in the left lane. Make sure that you're in the lane that's designated for what you want to do. Okay, don't get caught in a lane that you don't want to be in. Like I said, the biggest difference is the circle size. Roundabout is smaller with slower speeds. So Lee is a roundabout and Portsmouth is a circle. So I got it backwards. So let's take a look at the Lee Circle, so you can see that. Here's a video that they did for Department of Transportation. So as you approach, you can see you've got your arrows, you've got lane designation. Here's the overhead view. This is just as they painted the arrows. And here's the big difference. If it used to be like well, at some places it used to be an intersection. So with traffic lights, traffic will be backed up. So with a signal, look at the delay. It's more of a delay, less for a roundabout, because traffic is kind of blending in. But if you don't blend correctly, it's going to be a major problem. If you take a look at the bottom, look at the large tractor trailer that's getting off right now. See, he was in the left lane, and now he's merging off to the right. So right here, notice the conflict. That's the conflict point where some cars are merging on in the right lane, and the left lane has to cross over to get out. So you have to basically use your signal to get out of a circle. Do not use your signal to get in and may confuse people. So once again, here's a car that's taking up 2 lanes, probably doesn't have a directional on. So before you merge in, you have to read what cars are doing. So here we have signs indicating the one to the left, you've got to get off to the right. This one's telling you have 2 options. So right or left. So there are your 2 options. But always expect the drivers that are on the roadway here to do the wrong thing. So here's the overhead sign. So here, if you're entering at the bottom, you've got 2 options. Being in the left lane, you can get off at the second point or the third point. And they didn't mention the fourth, but you can. But you can see all the problems right here where traffic is being held up because of congestion. You've got a large truck. A lot of times these tankers will actually go over the center part of the circle. So write this down in your notes. Never get caught. Never get caught next to a tanker. Okay, because you're in their blind spot that we just talked about, that no zone area, and they're going to probably edge you. They're going to bump you. Edge you is where they hit your back tire or hit the side of your car at a glancing blow. That's edging. See the back part of that tractor trailer with the red? You know, he's pretty wide. So try to stay out of those areas. We don't have any tunnels in New Hampshire, but we do in Massachusetts. So a couple of things I want you to write down. When entering a tunnel, if it's daytime and you have sunglasses on, take them off. Put on your headlights. Even though we have lights in the tunnel, you still need your headlights on so people, when they look in the mirror, they can see you. Have a basic understanding of where you want to go. Once you're through the tunnel, or in some lengthy tunnels, which I'll show you in a moment, they will have exits in the tunnel. You will be getting off. Use your mirrors more, especially your side view mirrors in a tunnel because of the lanes, because you may have to make a quick lane change. So always watch your speed and your position. So let me show you the Boston Tunnel. So here we are, and we have 4 lanes. Notice there's an exit right there in a tunnel. The green signs are basically telling you where more exits are coming up. So I always like driving in the middle lane. So we've got 4 lanes. I'm in the 3rd lane. I'm actually going to want to merge to the left. You'll notice the road's dividing right now. I wanted to stay to the left so I could head north. I believe that exit off to the right will take you to the Logan Airport in Massachusetts. So now we've got 3 lanes. So know your exit, know where you want to go. If you're not quite sure, stay in lane number 2 or lane number 3 and look for your signs, because then you'll only have to exit 1 lane to the left or 1 lane off to the right. So that's really important when you're driving in Boston. And don't be surprised, even with GPS, it's very easy to get lost, especially if your GPS is not updated, because with traffic flow, sometimes there's detours and it will reroute you in areas that your GPS doesn't know, and it's going to be a plain mess. So don't get too nervous. If you do get lost, just pull off to the side of the road. Look at the map, think about where you do want to go, see if there's alternate routes that you could take. A lot of times it gives you bypasses, like bypass on GPS, toll roads or tunnels, bypass, interstates, take back roads, roads. So you'll be able to have a couple options. So just choose a different option if you do get lost, and you'll get right back on track. I don't have this. This is the Circle at Durham, so I don't have that. Oh, here's the tunnel. Here's why you should pay attention. I think that person was falling asleep, and he didn't realize he was coming up to a toll. I'll play it again, but here's everybody slowing down to pay the toll booth collector. And here's somebody who's not paying attention or asleep. I think asleep. Show it to you one more time. Maybe he didn't have enough money. He just wanted to jump and not pay the toll. I don't know. All right. The one thing that I did get to, that I wanted to get to when we were talking about having animals in the vehicle and how hot it's been, cracking a window and making sure that it's fine for animals. The other problem, and this could be more of a problem at faster speeds, so I wanted to include it in tonight's topic, it's that roadkill on highways or speeds of 40 miles per hour or faster, it takes longer to stop your vehicle. So just realize, by the time, when we're talking about darkness like right now, your headlights only shine about 150 feet. So if you're driving so fast that you can't stop within 150 feet, by the time the animal gets into the middle of the road and now your lights are illuminating him, that will probably freeze him. He won't be able to move because the lights have, made him shocked, held him, right there in the middle of the road. You're not able to steer around him or brake, and now you're going to hit the animal. So most roadkill happens at night and at speeds above 40 miles per hour. Now, there are 4 animals that you have to worry about here in New Hampshire about hitting. People always laugh because I always tell people you should always try to avoid hitting domesticated animals, so dogs and cats. Do everything you can so you don't hit a dog or a cat. There's nothing worse than a person finding their pet on the side of the road. It's got to be heartbreaking. Okay, so do everything that you can, but not above human life. Okay, you do not want to crash into another car to kill a family of 3 to save a cat or a squirrel, okay, or any thing. So my philosophy, if it's going to do damage to your vehicle, you should try to avoid it. If it's smaller than your vehicle, like a squirrel, chipmunk, whatever, slow down, move right, move left a little bit, but if you hit it, you hit it. But in New Hampshire, let's see, moose, deer, bear, and turkeys. Those are the ones that are getting hit. Moose are the worst. Bear, deer, turkeys. Those are the four. And New Hampshire Department of Wildlife actually did a video probably 20 years ago now. It's been a long time. But here's the video. They really wanted us to show this so people understand what it's like when you hit a animal at night. So I want to show you that.
There are approximately 1,500 collisions reported between wildlife and motor vehicles. On average, 1 to 2 people are killed and over 1,300 people are injured in these collisions. The average cost for repairs to a vehicle involved in a collision with a deer, a bear, or a turkey is around $4,000. However, vehicle repair costs after hitting a moose average $23,000. There are 4 wild animals that can cause significant vehicle damage or personal injury. The following video focuses primarily on moose. But keep in mind, you're more likely to hit a bear, a turkey, or a deer on New Hampshire's roadways. If you want to lessen your chances of hitting a wild animal, please listen carefully to and abide by the following safe driving instructions.
Wildlife can cross the road anywhere. You need to be constantly scanning the sides of the roads. If you do see wildlife, slow down. And be aware that at night your visual acuity is greatly impacted. You simply cannot see what is coming up onto the roadbed. So you need to drive slower to account for the fact that at any moment something may pop into the road.
I looked in the mirror to see if I could cut in, and I couldn't. I looked ahead, and 10 yards from me was this big bull moose standing there. And I never had time to touch the brakes. My mind said moose, bang, it was that quick.
The moose fell on top of right on my roof, and then crushed my roof and my head and everything in the process, and broke my spinal cord.
See that big thing standing in the road, and you stop and you look and you realize you're looking at one big living, moving animal, an AI. I mean, even for me, as many as I've seen around here, when I see just that one stopped and looking at you, that's a big animal.
Moose are large, somewhat homely, but as John Sutton and Dartmouth Hitchcock calls them, majestic animals. They reflect our environment.
Well, moose are perfectly adapted to live in the North Country. Their legs are 4 feet long. They're almost 6 feet tall or better at the shoulder. They weigh about 1,000 pounds on average as an adult. They can weigh as much as 1,400 pounds. They have a very heavy hide and very thick hair coat. They are just perfectly adapted to the cold and deep snow. If you hit a moose going faster than 55 miles per hour, these animals are 6 feet tall or better at the shoulder. You hit them at the leg, at the height of their legs. They clear the legs out from underneath them. Their body comes down. If you are going better than 55 miles an hour, your vehicle is continuing at quite a rate of speed as the body is falling down. The body hits either in your windshield or right on top of the roof. And that's 1,000 pounds that's coming through the windshield at you or coming down on top of the roof.
There's a couple things that happen to the people in the front seat. Normally, the first thing that happens is they obviously get covered with glass because of all that fragmentation from the windshield being destroyed. Secondly, the roof tends to collapse down on top of them. And because of that, they usually end up with either head injuries, neck injuries, spinal injuries of some sort.
They're covered with ticks, particularly in the earlier part of the year. Thousands of them. They then find themselves into the clothes and hair of the occupants of the vehicle. And they're unpleasant. They don't cause illness. They just require removal. The animal may bleed, and very often when they're inside the vehicle, their sphincters relax, and so they defecate and let loose their bowels within the vehicle.
The moose was on top of the vehicle, and after when it got over the initial shock of being hit, it started struggling, and the moose actually kicked out one of the rear windows while it was on top of her car.
And that salt that we've been using all winter long on the roads is something that moose desperately need come spring. So they will come out to the road to utilize the salt, and they'll continue to do that all through the spring, summer, and early fall months.
And they're so black you don't see them till you're right on top of it. People say, oh, you can't see a moose? You know, it's so big. But they blend in. Your headlights, you know, finally will pick them up.
The other thing, at least especially up in the North Country, but it's helpful anywhere, I would say, is to scan the roadway a lot when you're driving. Really pay attention. To look further down the roadway than I think a lot of people are kind of trained to look more directly in front of their car rather than looking at the furthest point that they can see when they're driving, which would give them time to react and prevent a collision. It's difficult with moose because they're just so hard to see, especially at night. You usually don't see them until you're right up on them.
When it's getting dusk to dark, use your high beams. You turn your headlights on, use your high beams. Obviously not at other cars coming at you, but if you're out there by yourself, flip your high beams up. Watch your speed. Keep it down. Leave yourself enough time so if something jumps out in front of you, hopefully you can at least slam on your brakes and either minimize the damage or just not get involved at all.
Their eyes do reflect light, but because they're so tall, I mean, their head can be 7 feet above the tarmac. You're not looking that high off the roadway in order to see that eye shine. And typically they may not be turning to look at you because moose, because they're so large, really aren't afraid of very much. So they may be looking down the road, they may be looking directly across the road. It's hard to see them at night.
Moose are the largest animals in the woods. They are afraid of nothing.
Moose that don't run are moose that live for another day. The worst thing they can do is run from their primary predator, which is a wolf pack. So they have evolved to stand their ground, which also makes it not very good for them when a car is approaching. A lot of moose will stand their ground if they consider it to be a threat rather than run.
And what we have to remember is this is a factor of an animal who is not afraid of a car or a human being or a tractor trailer. They have no issues with that, and they tend to just stroll out and do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it.
And you don't know really when they're going to bust right out of the woods and make a run across the road. So when you are in moose country, and it says watch for moose, heads up, pay attention to it.
Drive 55, keep your high beams on whenever possible, and scan for something coming up into the road.
You're going to lose. You're just going to lose if you hit one. And the hard part is maybe you'll survive, but your friends won't.
Her last words to her mother were, "Mom, there's a moose." She was killed at the scene, but her mother was not aware of her death. She was transported to the, dazed and confused, transported to the emergency department in Littleton, and I had to tell her. And the grief of a mother is like the earth grieving its young.
Twist down the road to
So basically, be very careful driving at night at high rates of speed where your lights are illuminating only a certain part of the roadway. We don't have 180 degrees like we normally do when we drive during the day. Our peripheral vision is really limited. So as they said in the video, look for the eye shine and that slow down, try to do the best that you can, but please, please do not go into oncoming traffic. Okay, so wildlife, it'd be a shame to hit it, but you do not want to hit another vehicle and have that happen. Let me show you what the worksheet is. I want you to take the remainder tonight to do that crash report, because I think I only got like 7 from people, 7 or 8. So if you haven't finished it, this is your time to do it. Your homework for tomorrow is chapter 11. It is our last chapter in the textbook. So this is your last time. Chapter 11, do the questions. I will be collecting textbooks as you start to drive next week. You're probably not going to need the textbook to study for the final. It will only be your notes and the state manual. And we're going to have a review anyways on Tuesday. And we should be covering most of the material then. But I'll be collecting books. So if you have any outstanding homework, you've got to get that in. This is what you should be doing once we sign off. But let me just show you what it looks like. This is the homework sheet that you have. We just got done talking about what lane to be in, driving on the highway. So you only have 12 questions here. There was a second page to it. I don't know why Facebook doesn't allow me to do 2 downloads on the same post. I've got to do 2 separate posts. So I will try to do the back side of this. I don't know if I'll get to it tonight, but I'll definitely get it to tomorrow. So before tomorrow's class, do this worksheet, and I'll do the flip side of it that you need to do, and to do your questions on chapter 11. So that is your homework. So tomorrow night, sharing the road with motorcycles, large trucks, pedestrians, bikes, and that is it for tonight. Quick class. So do your homework, use this time to get things in, and we'll see you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Have a good night.